Well, this one is a doozy. We haven't seen a Marjorie Taylor Greene blow up like this in a while. And so get ready. She literally grabs the guys, as you can see their papers, and throws them. That's how upset she gets at this reporter. Now, what upset her so much? He dared to ask, as you're going to see, actually, I think this clip starts after he asked this, but he's going around the Capitol asking people, will you commit to protecting Medicare and Social Security, not reducing people's benefits? In a general sense, government efficiency sounds great. But a lot of times we see when that goal comes up, it ends up threatening programs that should not be threatened, like Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid. And for some reason, I guess Marjorie's argument is, by asking me that question, instead of just going, yes, I commit to it, either you're exposing that I don't want to commit to it, or you're lying that we're going to even try to do that. You're assuming that we're going to try, which is why you need a commitment. But given what we've talked about in past segments recently and an update on that I'll give you, it is very much a reasonable question from this reporter. While you watch this clip, please do click the subscribe button. We are in a pretty frightening time. Just recently, Trump was saying social media influencers are next in terms of who he's going to target. Right now, he's focused on targeting Ann Seltzer for a poll he didn't like, and who knows what's next. And so it's a frightening time. And if you want to show your support for this show or shows like it, that free subscribe button is very helpful.
Look, you are 100% funded by Democrats. You donate to Democrats. You're out here asking bullshit questions.
What is the bullshit question?
All of your questions.
This is a mailing. This is a mailing from. This is Donald
President
Trump.
We all campaigned on protecting seniors' Social Security. You can't lie about it. See, yeah, this is your political agenda. You know what? We don't care.
That's Donald Trump's mailing.
No, you are one. You're not media.
That's Donald Trump's mailing.
No, this right here is for Democrat ads to attack Republicans.
So it's really simple.
No, that's what your
really
agenda
simple.
is. No, it's
Will
not
you
simple.
pledge
No, you're a
to
liar.
take Social Security and Medicare cuts off the table?
You and this guy right here, look, you're lying.
What am I lying
you're
about?
lying because
I'm asking you to take a pledge.
I don't need to take a pledge because we've already done that all year long. And guess what? The sad story for you is the American people elected Trump, his agenda, and Republicans to lead the country because you guys suck so bad.
So,
by the way, so first off, don't grab people's papers and throw them. That would be a no-no if you're taking my advice, which you won't. But also, I always hear this from Republicans. It makes sense, let me put it this way, if you're a liberal, to go, wow, did we mess up that bad that Trump won because he's so horrific? And we've talked about why some of it's campaign issues and some of that, but a lot of it was more foundational. And this reaction to the pandemic air conditions. So we've gone through that, but I understand that phrase, right? He's so bad, how did we lose to him? But what's interesting is people who think Trump's amazing will say that too. Man, you suck that bad that you lost to Trump. And I'm thinking, wait, but don't you think Trump is great? So how does him winning necessarily mean we just must be that bad? Couldn't it just because he's amazing? It's weird. They kind of accept our premise on that one in a strange way, but that's totally unrelated to what we're talking about. So let me just give you, before going further, the latest example of how this guy's question is not ridiculous. A Republican congressman just said, in addition to the ones we already talked about in a different segment, yeah, we're going to talk about it.
We're going to just keep asking members of the caucus as they come in, sir, can we get a pledge to stand with President Trump against cuts to Social Security and Medicare benefits?
I think, you know what, when we look to reduce our national debt, I think these should be on the table.
Okay.
You know, so I am a strong advocate of discussing this and reevaluating them. And I do believe at the end of the day, there will be some cuts.
There are cuts to Social Security and Medicare.
Yes.
And that's on the table in the Doge caucus right now.
Well, we're about to find out.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
He said yes to cuts. Yes. So it's not a crazy question, Marjorie. Behind the scenes reporting indicates obviously it's on the table for these folks. This government efficiency thing is not just about, what do they say, pork, bloat. It's also about absolutely necessary spending. And then Mike Lee's thread, I think we saw Ralph Norman address this, and so many others. It's not a crazy question. And a few thoughts, and I'll show you the next Marjorie clip. This all is happening within the most aggravating context, because they'll always word it like, sorry, that's just life. We just don't have the funds. But then first they say, we're going to be fiscally responsible. So in considering that, you have your revenue and your spending. And to get closer to a balanced budget, based on where we are currently, you'd either reduce spending or increase revenue, or both. But they say their top priority is another massive tax cut bill that, if it's structured, which it will be, like Trump's first one, will disproportionately benefit the top of our economic ladder. More wealthy folks, take it. And then that'll reduce our revenue. Trump said no, but it would stimulate so much growth that it actually ended up bringing in more, and then it didn't. And the deficit bloated. So our revenue will go down, increased deficit. We're going to start adding more to the debt. And that'll be more reason for them to go, oh, see, we're adding so much to the debt. Which, by the way, Republicans have the worst record on that, despite them saying the opposite, just as a matter of fact. And so then they'll say, well, sorry, we got to cut spending even more. The priorities are so whacked. We've looked at analyses before about if we hadn't done a lot of these very wealthy, targeted tax cuts over the last couple of decades, all under Republicans, we'd be in a much, much better spot with our debt issue. And so they do that, and then it becomes a part of the argument. It's like when we talk about how they'll break something in the government and then point to how broken it is. They'll underfund something so it won't work well as proof that we should get rid of it. And it's crazy. This has happened with the Postal Service many times. Attack it and then say it's inefficient, so let's privatize. And I think they're going to try to do that with the Department of Education as well. But then we've looked at before Social Security. We still have a social, so they're gonna cut benefits before they'll address this with Social Security. Social Security still has a tax cap, meaning in 2024, for any of your earnings above $168,600, any dollar above that is not being taxed for Social Security. So if you make under that, all of the dollars that you're making are having, Social Security tax applied to it. But then if you make a lot of money, a bunch of your money is not, which is just a tax benefit, again, for wealthy folks we still have in place. And before getting rid of that and just taxing all of the income for Social Security, we'd cut benefits if we were to accept the Republican argument here. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. We are very likely heading into an environment where there will be more unnecessary. It's not like it's needed. It's not like it's tough for wealthy folks to get by in America. It's not like income inequality isn't exploding. But let's exacerbate that, decrease government revenue as further justification to go after programs that people do feel whenever you reduce benefits. Just the exact wrong priorities, and it's infuriating. Then while we're on the topic of Marjorie and funding related things, they are debating right now before leaving for the holidays, a continuing resolution keeping the government funded while the next few months pass by, and I'll play this for you as she addresses it and then talk about the details.
Well, it's really turning into, it's not a CR, which is a continuation of the budget. It's turning into an omnibus, is what it sounds like to me, where they're packing in, everybody's packing in what they want here and there, and using the pressure and the situation of the government shutdown. Of course, tragically, farmers are being dangled. Americans that suffered through natural disasters, they're being dangled with disaster relief. And I think that's incredibly unfair. And think about it like this: if this is going to turn into a 3-month omnibus, basically, then why aren't we doing the heavy lifting on, the upcoming debt ceiling situations that we have to deal with in March, government funding? But no, and we don't have any bill text. I have no idea what's in the CR except just basic things that we were told in there. And then reading often you guys' X accounts, because somehow y'all magically know things oftentimes more quicker than I do. But reality is there is no CR text out yet. We don't know what's in it. And here we are. What is today? Tuesday? Yeah. Okay. So that's it.
What is the mood of the conference? I mean, obviously you have been critical of Speaker Johnson in the past, but
And I'll stop it there. I wanted to play it for you just to update you on this situation, so you're warned, because we could see another government showdown type of deal. I've seen a few others. Nancy Mace obviously always has to be at the front of everything. Please interview me, please. So she's saying, I'm gonna stand proudly against the continuing resolution here. CBS reports what's in the continuing resolution to avert a government shutdown. See key details from the spending bill. It talks about this 1,500-page measure. And Marjorie was making proclamations about it, but also admitted she didn't really know what's in it yet. So wouldn't you wait to articulate stance? But some of it's disastrous. So I should explain. Normally, a continuing resolution is just extending current funding levels of the government. However things are being funded now, just however many months they set. So we'll keep everything current funding levels for this many months. And then we'll debate making changes then, or we'll keep continuing. In this one, there's the continuation and then add-ons too. And that includes really necessary things like $110.4 billion in disaster aid, $29 billion for FEMA's disaster relief fund, $8 billion for federal highways and roads, $12 billion for the community development block grants, etc. A lot of stuff that makes a lot of sense. And then they have something here about the RFK Memorial Stadium campus. You have that Baltimore bridge rebuilding that the federal government has committed to funding the rebuilding of the Francis Scott Key Bridge that had that really scary collapse. And one thing that I know will cause a debate, but I don't know if I have the take that you would expect, is a pay raise for members of Congress. And that's as a part of this continuing resolution. It's interesting because I actually support members of Congress being paid very well, because I want that to be a part of what justifies restricting the other money they can make. One of the things being stock trading. And so they don't have conflicts of interest. So pay them really well so that really high quality people know that they could make a lot of money and are willing to give up other revenue sources. But if they're not going to go restrict the other revenue sources, then that makes this questionable, because that's a really important part of it. But that will be a part of the debate as well. And you know what's interesting? As this is being talked about, or as the DOGE government efficiency thing is being discussed, you'll hear these nice sounding statements. Oh, we just want to go after the inefficiencies. We want to make, one thing that I think we should be doing a lot of is trying to bring the government up to date. A lot of the institutions within the government are so retrograde, and so you can run things more efficiently if you technologically are in present day, not back in the 90s or something. And so something like that. Or Medicare, negotiating drug prices is saving the government money, saving us money. That's great. But what ends up happening is that becomes the justification to block necessary funding, like in a continuing resolution debate, or to go after, as I'm talking about in this segment, crucial programs like Medicare and Social Security. And so the nice flowery language about we're just going to make sure we're not attaching needless, ridiculous spending that's just meant to help some special interest group. Oh, yeah. And then what they actually go after something totally different. Here's Mike Johnson speaking.
We don't have a choice. We have to fund those. We have to fund FEMA. We have to fund our farmers.
Right. And Mr. Speaker, it's not just so you've got a bunch of Republicans who are angry at you. They don't like this. And just in a couple of weeks, you're going to stand once again to run for Speaker of the House. And you don't need a bunch of Democrats mad at you. But and this is breaking news you do not know. You know who also does not like this? Elon Musk, the world's richest man, just tweeted this bill should not pass. The only way you're going to be able to pass it now, Mr. Speaker, is with Democrats. If you could, what's your message to Elon Musk?
Well, I was communicating with Elon last night. Elon and Vivek and I are on a text chain together. And I was explaining to them the background of this. And Vivek and I talked last night about almost midnight. And he said, look, I get it. He said, we understand you're in an impossible position. Everybody knows that. Remember, guys, we still have just a razor thin margin of Republicans. So any bill has to have Democrat votes. They understand the situation. They said, it's not directed to you, Mr. Speaker, but we don't like the spending. I said, guess what, fellas? I don't either. We got to get this done because here's the key. By doing this, we are clearing the decks and we are setting up for Trump to come in roaring back with the America First agenda. That's what we're going to.
Yeah, so he's trying to sell it to his own party. I don't really know what that means. I don't know how it's clearing the decks or setting Trump up for something great. But a lot of this is just sitting and waiting. We just have to see and we have to call it out. And I'm happy that people are trying. That reporter who got screamed at by Marjorie is trying to get people on the record. But no matter how many times publicly they say, oh, these programs are off limits. Oh, no, we're not. That's not what we mean when we say we're going to, what do they say, reduce the spending by like $2 trillion. And then it's always something different once they're elected. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Support the show. Get the members only bonus show by clicking that join button below.